Hi, I'm Mariana, and this video is inspired by an essay I recently wrote on my Substack. It's about a tree, a garden, and the courage it takes to stay. I'll link the essay below if you would like to read the full piece. Regardless, I wanted to make a video because this story has impacted me so much. And I've received the feedback of other people who were inspired and saw themselves in it. So here we go. I moved to England over 3 years ago into this house. I had only seen in pictures and did a virtual visit because it was the end of the pandemic. I was living in Berlin. We couldn't just come and go. And I wanted a house with a garden, because I had, up to that point, been very cozy in a flat in Berlin with my husband and my daughter, who was then a toddler. You can imagine. So this house has a good garden. It's good size, but it was quite naked, not particularly fun or colorful. It had a very pretty lawn and a few bushes, some flowers. But I come from Brazil, where gardening mostly meant for me watering my private jungle, and everything that you plant eventually blooms. So I never really learned this very structured way, this seasonal gardening, that you have to have a skill to do seasonal gardening. And my English neighbors, they seem to naturally know this and they enjoy it. But my first year here in England, I spent kind of recuperating, like getting over deep xenophobia that I experienced during the 4.5 years that I lived in Germany. And I was coming from a very warm and sunny, like in a deeper sense, country. And in Germany, I encountered a lot of disconnection and fear because I was an immigrant. I am an immigrant, and it was really, really hard. So my time in the garden when I arrived in England was mostly enjoying the rare sun, playing with my daughter and my cats. It was their first time seeing a garden in their entire lives, the cats. And I began learning a little bit about the wildlife that we have here. We have foxes, we have different birds. So it was a year to restore myself. It was a year of restoration. The second year, I started to resent the garden a little. I started working on it, and I discovered debris buried in the earth, which is something that's apparently very common here. After house renovations, they just bury the debris under the dirt in the garden. Things started to die instead of bloom, except wildflowers, which, my landlord was not pleased with the wildflower. I just let the garden go wild for a while. The ants made a home of my lawn, and again, well, it's not my lawn, so I would happily leave them, but the landlord was not pleased. So I couldn't really give the garden the energy that I thought it needed. And my focus was completely elsewhere, was not in the house, was building community, finding my way with my work with women. I was restructuring my life here. But now we are deep into the 3rd year, and something has shifted in me with this spring. The garden has always been there the whole time. It's just waiting. It's watching me come and go. It never rushed me or asked anything of me. It simply held its ground. So it took me 3 years and more to plant something in this garden. 3 years that I've been telling myself, it's a rental. I will leave. I don't want to invest my energy and my money into someone else's property. But beneath all of that, there's trauma. There's a deeper truth It's that I was, or I am still, afraid to take space. I am afraid to belong temporarily and then leave. This has happened in my life many times. I'm afraid to claim a patch of earth as mine, even if it's just for now. Because what if I need to say goodbye? What if it is taken away, as has happened before? What if I allow myself to belong and then I have to leave? I know that feeling in my body. I've carried this feeling through countries, relationships, many homes. It is an ache of being, the ache of impermanence. And I think especially as women, as immigrants, as survivors, we are taught not to get comfortable. And I have this image of hovering just above our lives, pretending we don't care if we stay or if things are impermanent. So I think many of us live this way. I've heard women tell me this, that we live just above the soil, always ready to quietly leave before anyone notices that we were here. So we're not taught to putting down roots is safe, it's clean. We are taught that it is a danger to put down roots, right? And so not putting down roots is less painful. That's what I mean. So there's a quiet sorrow inside of me. I feel like I never arrive fully. So in holding myself at the threshold of my own life, and I've done this for so long, not just in the garden is just a metaphor here, right? But then one soft spring morning recently, I decided to plant a rhododendron. Well, my husband dug the hole because I couldn't. It was too tough. So really, we planted the rhododendron. And I found it on sale at the garden center. And there was a gardener there, and I asked if there was something wrong with the tiny rhododendron, and she said, it won't bloom unless it's planted in the ground. And that impacted me so much that it was all I needed to hear, like, oh, it won't bloom until it's planted, until it has created roots, right? So the day before that, the day before we planted, it was Mother's Day here in the UK, and my husband and daughter surprised me with a little trip. And half an hour later, I found myself standing inside the Anchor White Yew. So this tree, oh my God, it's over 2,000 years old. It is said to be 2,000 years old. It is older than anything that I might consider as my own fears, my own excuses. It's older than this, the kingdoms and the empires that shaped this land that we're standing on. It is older than anything that I could say to hurt myself or to heal myself. And this yew has stood witness to so many generations who came seeking something. People who came in search of healing, of truth, of their own selves. And I learned that in Celtic folklore, yews are seen as the guardians of the liminal, that space between life and death, of dream and reality, and what has happened and what might yet come. So their roots touch mysteries beyond what we can actually grasp. So this specific tree, has seen so many stories and history. It grows very near the ruins of a nunnery that was dedicated to Mary Magdalene, which also feels very appropriate. It stands by the Thames, the River Thames. And it is said that the Magna Carta was signed and sealed under that tree. It may have witnessed Henry VIII meeting Anne Boleyn, who later became his wife. She was first his lover, and then she became his wife. And, maybe they had sex right next to the tree. Who knows? Inside the tree. Oh, my God. And I also learned that before, now they're doing preservation work. So before that, the branches of the tree held mythical magic offerings. So people would tie little pieces of cloth with prayers, and they were left there to disintegrate at the mercy of time. But now people can do that near the tree, not on the actual tree. And I have this deep connection to trees. As someone who follows me will definitely know, at some point I will talk about trees. I will take pictures of trees. I will hug any tree I find that calls to me. And I've always known that they are beings with a capital B. When I first read The Lord of the Rings, the only part that really interested me was the ants. I hope I'm saying it correctly. The ants, the trees that protect the innocent. And I thought, of course, that's how trees are. They stand watch. If they could, they would stand up and move, right? And of course, because my work is really rooted into what Clarissa Pinkola says, I love that she says that trees are like our elders. She says that, and I will read this quote. She says, "Every woman looks like a tree. In the deepest layers of her soul, she harbors vital roots that pull energy up from the depths to nourish her leaves, flowers, and fruit. No one understands from where a woman draws so much strength, so much hope, so much life. Even when they are cut off, shredded, their roots still sprout shoots that will bring everything back to life again. They have a pact with this mysterious source that is nature." Isn't that beautiful and powerful? Oh my God, everything she writes about trees is just amazing. So when I was inside that yew tree, I got up on an ancient branch. I sat down. My daughter was trying to also climb the tree. And I saw that this tree was like this beacon of survival. And it was there. It stayed. It's still standing. And I felt, well, I'm still standing as well. And this reminded me that sometimes staying in stillness is sacred. And rooting is needed, right? Rooting is resistance. Sometimes we have to begin again, but not by moving forward or leaving, but by remaining, even if just temporarily. So like the yew tree, we can layer new growth over old wounds. We can spiral inward. We can grow even when the heartwood is hollowed. The yew is so interesting because it's a tree. I learned this as well. I didn't know that. It grows from its own branches. It regenerates itself through layering. It's called the phoenix tree, the eternity tree. It's so beautiful. It's so amazing. I invite you all to find a yew. And in those quiet moments that I stayed inside the tree, I saw myself in the resilience of this great grandmother tree. She refuses to die, even after thousands of years. And I thought of all the women who felt that they couldn't really put down roots or are not allowed to, because maybe we're not allowed to get too attached or to claim space, or staying too long will hurt us, hurt our truth, so we have to leave. And I thought about how actually how radical it is to stay anyway. It is to become someone who doesn't run at the first sign of impermanence, someone who plants, who roots, who dares to say, I am allowed to take up space even if I decide to leave later. So the divine feminine really lives in trees, in the patience of trees, in choosing resilience, softness over escaping. It takes courage to stay, maybe even if it's just for now. It doesn't have to be forever. So the divine feminine lives in that moment where I kneeled in my rented backyard, pressing my hands into the earth in a prayer, choosing connection over the fear of loss, of impermanence, over the fear of not being able to keep what I have today. So maybe you not always know how long you'll stay, but you get to decide how fully you will live while you are where you are. And like the yew tree, we are allowed to grow again and again from something that seemed to have died. And we are allowed to carry that memory in our bones, the branches that we have, our bones. And we can begin again. We can always begin again. That's what I've been really learning in my bones. So I've been watering my rhododendron, letting it get sunshine. It's a small flag, a green flag of belonging. I've planted some other things as well. And maybe it will bloom this year. Maybe it will bloom next year. Maybe I'll be here to see it. Maybe I'm not gonna be here to see it. But I'm in this season of choosing to be rooted, and I hope you also find that inspiration to bloom where you're planted, of planting even if the soil is uncertain, of growing soft in the ground of your own becoming, of trusting the magic, the slow magic, the deep magic that happens beneath the surface, both of the actual ground and our ground. So these are my questions for you to wonder, journal, or maybe write me with the answers that you find in yourself. What are you withholding? Where are you withholding your roots right now? What would it mean to plant something, either symbolic, metaphorical, or real, even if the soil feels uncertain? And what part of you wants to stay but hasn't yet been given permission by yourself? You're the only one who can give you permission. So what is that? I thank you so much for listening to this. I invite you again to read my Substack if you're into writing. I'm trying to do both things here. I love writing. I also love telling you stories. So I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for watching this if you got to the end. And I hope to see you soon.